Thanks to the support as a channel member, Jacob Depew. Well, boys and girls, you smashed the like target on episode 1. We were looking for 5,000 likes. We absolutely ruined it, which means there aren't going to be episodes in this series this weekend. So we've got episodes tomorrow and Sunday, and then just back into the normal Monday to Friday for next week. Unless, of course, I mean, if you want episodes next weekend as well, 5,000 likes on this one. I mean, we may as well give it a try. I like likes. Hello and welcome to part 5 of Saving Man City. I'm Kevin. Coming up on today's episode, we have the January transfer window and our continued adventures in the FA Cup. As promised, we've got a lot of games under our belt since the last episode, including getting through to said third round of the FA Cup by smashing another good League One team in the shape of Bolton. That's Derby and Bolton both dealt with very comfortably in the FA Cup, which suggests this is a squad as it stands currently that would be good enough to win League One relatively easily. Today, we get to test ourselves against Championship opposition, albeit a team struggling a little bit in the Championship in the shape of Wigan. So I would expect to win that one as well, and then hopefully have a better Championship or maybe a Premier League test in the fourth round, which we'll show you in this episode as well. Unless, of course, Wigan knock us out, in which case that answers the questions that I had anyway. The other thing we've got going on is it is the January transfer window, which a couple of people have said in the comments, Kev, you know you're in non-league, you don't have a transfer window. Yeah, but the teams who want to buy our players do. We're not buying it. We're not buying it. We're selling. Sometimes, goodness me. So we are trying to sell some players. Our balance is looking pretty grim. We're down to minus 50 million, another 24 million pound loan payment coming at the end of the month. And I've also started to have a little bit more of a look at some of these transfer clauses that we've got. In particular, Jan Couto, we've spent £1 million on because he played a game for us. So it cost us £1 million. If he plays 4 more, it's another £1 million. We can't afford to keep spending £1 million on Jan Couto, so he's gone or going. He's off back to Brazil for £8 million because we just had to cash in on him. Similar thing with Dario Sarmiento. He made his debut recently, and without me realising it, that cost us £1 million. If he plays 9 more games, it's another £1 million, and so on. So he is on the transfer list. We can't afford to keep him around and pay him 9 more times. It doesn't matter how good he is. We can't be spending £1 million on players. It's also worrying to see how many instalments like this there are that are going to be coming out over the next couple of seasons for Haaland, for Grealish. I think there was a lot of big instalments for Calvin Phillips. Yeah, it's not ideal. In addition to the debt that we've accumulated, I mean, it says there that the transfer debt isn't massively significant. So I guess that means there's equal kind of stuff coming in. So there's a Douglas Luiz installment. I mean, I don't see how it balances, but I guess maybe it does. None of these have. I mean, there's Raheem Sterling has got installments. Ferran Torres has. Okay, so there are a few. Zinchenko. So that kind of balances out a little bit. But the other thing we have to be aware of is players who are going to be failing their work permit. So there are 5 we've been warned about who won't be able to play for us in a year. Jan Couto we're already selling. Carlos Borges is expected to gain nationality, so we're not going to worry about him. But Oscar Bob, Mickey von Sass, and this guy, the only way they're going to get work permits if we give them a higher wage. We obviously can't be giving them a higher wage, so they're on the transfer list as well. And then on top of that, we've got players who want to leave, Cole Palmer being the main one who wants to leave. So they're not on the transfer list, but we are offering them out, trying to get as much money for them as we possibly can. We want 20 million plus for Palmer. I'm not sure we'll get it, but there are teams that want him, and he's been fantastic. So, you know, we can try. He's on 25 grand a week as well, so we do need to sell him sooner rather than later. So Couto is the first one that's actually gone, even though he's going to play today because he doesn't go for a couple more days. But he is out, and we are going to be looking to get as close to 0 on this overall balance again as we can before January is done. Our projection for the end of the season is not ideal, and the last thing we want is to go into administration and get a points deduction, because if we get a 10-point points deduction, Notts County, although they're 11 points behind us, do have a game in hand. So if we get a 10-point deduction and they win their game in hand, we might not get promoted. So we want to try and avoid at all costs getting a points deduction this season. So this is the team that we're sending to Wigan. Of course, there is money to be had in the FA Cup, and we are very much looking for some of that money. A win here, and then I can't believe I'm saying this as Manchester City manager, a big away day to a Premier League team, the likes of a Manchester United, Liverpool, Arsenal, that kind of level. That's what we want. We want to go and get a big chunk of cash from a game like that. It will help massively. An away game at the likes of Manchester United, that probably covers our wage budget or our wage expenditure for a month now, which is big. So it's Trafford in goal, a back four of Wilson, Esbrand, Doyle, Harwood, Bellis and Couto in his final game for the club. Doyle, Fiorini and Bob in midfield. Rogers, Palmer and Delap are the front three. We have got a couple of injuries. Rico Lewis injured yet again, and James McAtee also injured. But yeah, the Rico Lewis situation, especially as he is now going to become our first choice right back with Couto moving on. Rico Lewis has had 3, not like major injuries, but injuries significant enough to keep him out for at least a few weeks. That's happened 3 times in the first half of this season. I don't know how much we can rely on him. And I know he's only 17, but we don't really have another right back behind him. I guess we've got Aguilar, but we're looking to sell him because he's on 20 grand a week. So we might be veering towards that point where we have to switch the tactic around a little bit because we run out of players in certain positions, and right back is starting to look like one where that could happen. And that is a lovely goal from us. Remember, this is against championship opposition, so we are getting a nice taste of how good this squad is, whilst at the same time being fully aware that it's starting to get ripped apart behind me, and it is very much a race to get as many points on the board as we possibly can before the players are gone and we stop winning, and hope that we accumulate enough points so that when the inevitable points deduction comes, it doesn't matter. That's the plan at the moment, but we're 1-0 up. Good work from Bob, good work from Rogers, but Wigan are now attacking down that left-hand side, or our right-hand side. We win the ball back comfortably, and it's now with Cole Palmer, who it's another opportunity for him to put himself in the shop window today. He's a player who is obviously far too good for our level and probably too good for championship level. He should be going to a Premier League team this window if we can find one that will meet our valuation of him. And the problem that we've got is the longer we're down in non-league and lower down in the league and all that kind of stuff, the lower his value is going to fall. He's not going to still be a £20 million player in 3 years' time when we're still not a Premier League team, because our reputation, although we've had a big reputation hit as part of setting the save up, our reputation will continue to decrease as we spend time outside of the Premier League. I think that's my understanding of how it's going to work. We have a penalty, though. It's going to be Palmer stepping up, looking for yet another goal for him. It's Palmer versus whoever's in goal for Wigan. Doesn't matter who's in goal for Wigan. They were never saving a Cole Palmer penalty. 22 goals for the season now for Palmer. It's only January, and he's done a lovely little jig. He'll never have another season like it for as long as he's a professional footballer, where he's just this much better than everyone else that he's coming up against every single match. It is fun to watch, but very much similar to the Phil Foden situation we had back in August. It's fun to watch, but we know full well every time we watch it, it might be the last time, because at any moment that offer that is enough money could come in and we have to let him go. The other thing I'm not worried about, because I'm keen to sell these players, but I don't know at what point the board will step in and start accepting offers for me. Like, we've had a £14 million offer for Palmer, which I've turned down because I think we can get to 20, but we could really use £14 million. And I don't know how many times the board are going to let me turn down offers of that kind of level before they quite rightly say, no, we need the money. Players go for whatever we can get them for. That's the new reality that we live in, but we're not there yet, thankfully. Right, we'll make 3 changes. Aguilar is going to come on. I don't think he's on a cost per appearance thing like some of the other players that we've got. It's just he's one of the highest paid players at the club, so we do need to move him on just on that basis that he costs 20 grand a week. And I think we've just taken another couple of big injuries there. Oscar Bob has picked up an injury, which is not ideal because we're hoping to sell him this month. Probably shouldn't have played him. Right, we'll just shuffle the midfield around a little bit, bring Shea Charles on in there. And now also Doyle and Wilson, Esbrand are tiring. We can take him off, put the other Doyle out to left back, and that is our 5 substitutions done now. What we've learnt today, of course, is that we are comfortably better than a relegation threatened Championship team, which we kind of knew. Derby, Bolton, Wigan, the three of them are very similar quality-wise when it comes to the players that they've got, etc. I don't think we've necessarily learned anything beyond what we learned against Bolton. Was it Bolton or Derby we played first? Either way, the three of them, very similar. And hopefully, like I say, we get a Premier League team in the next round so that we can A, cash in, and B, work out just how good these boys are, and at the same time put them in the shop window so we can maybe get that £20 million that we want for Cole Palmer. Aguilar now on the right-hand side, cuts it back to Palmer. Lovely work from Palmer again. He's going to score here. In fact, he lays it off to Shea Charles and now Rogers and Doyle, and the ball ends up floating over the crossbar. And I think we probably were a little bit too lax there. I think we probably could have got the goal if we'd have pushed for it. But at 3-0 up with 10 minutes to go, we were happy just to carve out an absolute golden opportunity, and one never actually came. It's Palmer now with the in-swinging corner, looking at that near post where it's headed clear by the Wigan defender, and it comes as far as Charles once again. And the move just kind of peters out. It's another corner for us, though. It's Palmer again. Far post this time, and Taylor Harwood-Bellis is there at the far post to make it 4-0. This does flatter us a bit. I think the teams are much more evenly matched in this game than we have in the previous FA Cup games. You can tell by the XG. We're not actually way ahead on XG, but obviously we're in incredible form and full of confidence. Wigan are in terrible form and low on confidence. So I imagine, despite what the scoreline suggests, I think this Wigan and Manchester City teams are quite evenly matched ability-wise, but we're just the team in form. And we all know how much form and momentum and confidence matters in Football Manager, often more so than the ability of the players. So I think we're probably figuring out a little bit, coming a little bit closer to figuring out how good this team is. I'm thinking mid-table Championship. That's where I put us. Fingers crossed we get a team at least that level, if not higher, in the next round of this cup, so we can test my theory. Bob's not properly injured. That's handy. And we got a little bit of money through the door. That's handy too. Right, we'll do the draw for the next round, and then I'll play the league games off camera. We'll be back for the fourth round and hopefully have some transfer news by then as well. So here we go then. FA Cup fourth round draw. Let's have that big away game in the Premier League, please. That is not Coventry. that would... I mean, if we just, Man United have gone, we want that big away day. We want to test ourselves. We want the money. Right, we're at home. We've not got the big away day. So at least give us a Premier League team. Give us a Chelsea or an Arsenal or somebody like that. Fair enough. Manchester City versus Arsenal. We're going to learn some things coming up now. Well, kind of good news, bad news. Cole Palmer has moved on. We didn't quite get the amount of money we wanted for him. It's £17.5 million with some clauses, if we have a little nose into what the clauses are, because I can't remember them off the top of my head. Where is he? Cole, it's this one, isn't it? Cole Palmer. Palmer, there he is. So we're going to have a friendly against West Ham. We also get some money after his first few appearances, plus a sell-on clause, plus a few instalments going to be coming in as well. So it's not the best deal we could get, but, well, scratch that. It is the best deal we could get. I think we're now suffering from player values starting to decrease because of the fact we are now a non-league team. The only other offer we got, apart from the £14 million one we turned down right at the start of the window, was a £9 million offer from Watford, and it was starting to look like we were going to have to just take what we could get in January because it would likely fall even further by the end of the season. So £17.5 million for Cole Palmer. And we've also sold one of the youngsters who hadn't gotten anywhere near the team, Max Elaine. We were offered $900,000 for him, for a player who only had 3-star potential. Yeah, he's worth loads more than that now, theoretically, but I mean, in that situation, we let him go. Jan Couto, his deal has now gone through as well. We're also trying to get rid of Oscar Bob, but he has had a work permit declined for a move to Watford, I think it is. Watford. So he might just be sticking around with us, and then I guess we release him when he work permit fails. I'm not quite sure what the situation will be if we can't convince somebody to take him, and we haven't got any takers yet for Sarmiento, Meboud, some of the other players that we're looking at getting rid of. Micah Hamilton, who wants to leave as well. As far as I'm concerned, those two can go because they want to leave. Sarmiento and Bob need to leave because of clauses and work permit stuff. And the other 2 that we wanted to get rid of have already gone. So overall balance is back down to 26 million. We've got our wage budget below £300,000 a week, which is still obviously far too much for non-league, but we are working on it. And the projection now has us standing at minus 85 million by the end of the season, which I hope it won't lead to administration. We'll see, I guess. I mean, let's not worry about next season and the season after yet. They feel like future Kev's problem. But with all that having happened, we now do have to face Arsenal. We are at home, which is a little bit of a shame because there would have been a lot more money for us if we'd have gone to the Emirates. We fill Gig Lane every week anyway. And we've also got a couple of injury issues. Rico Lewis, once again, is injured. Liam Delap is also injured. So it's not quite our full-strength team. And obviously, we no longer have Palmer as part of that full-strength team anyway. So it's Trafford in goal, a back four of Wilson Esbrand, Doyle, Harwood, Bellis and Aguilar. The other Doyle, Fiorini and McAtee in midfield. Borges on the left, Bob on the right, Rogers up front. And let's see how we got on against Arsenal. This FA Cup run has been fun because we've beaten a lot of teams that I wasn't sure if we were going to be able to beat or not. I'm pretty confident the run comes to an end today against Arsenal. But it'll be interesting to see just how far we have fallen since the last time we played Premier League opposition. Obviously, we played Liverpool in the Community Shield at the start of the season and only lost by a couple of goals. But since then, we've lost Foden, we've lost Palmer, Delap is injured, Lewis is injured. So we've got 4 or 5 players fewer quality-wise. Probably the 4 or 5 best players we had then are not in the team today. So what difference is that going to make? How far behind Arsenal are we? Arsenal are 5th in the Premier League. So similar kind of standard to Liverpool. And let's just hope we don't get too humiliated today. Smith Rowe picking it up on the edge of the area and just driving through our entire defence. And Arsenal have another corner. I think we've done quite well as a non-league team to keep it to 0-0 inside the first 20 minutes. Obviously, we're not your typical non-league team because we've got a team full of players who are good enough to play in the Championship. So it's not quite as good an outcome as it seems to be so far. But it's been a positive start. It's a very strong Arsenal team. I mean, you look through that team, the only players really missing, Ramsdale in goal, and then I guess Xhaka in midfield. Otherwise, that would be, and Martinelli, I don't know where he is. But it's a pretty strong Arsenal 11, and we've held them to 0-0 at half-time. Once again, demonstrating the power of being in good form and having momentum in Football Manager. Because obviously, we all know, ability-wise, this team is way, way, way below the Arsenal team. But because we're the team who've won 18 games in a row and are in incredible form, we're actually looking like they're equals at the moment. Although I imagine the gap will start to form between us and them in this second half. And there is their first goal. It's Gabriel Jesus, of course, in this universe, was just part of the rest of the City exodus that happened in the summer, left at the same time as all of the other guys, him and Zinchenko. So hasn't been gone any longer than the likes of De Bruyne, Haaland, etc. But he does put them ahead, a minute into the second half. And now, similar to what we found ourselves against Liverpool, we've got a situation where we don't really want our heads to drop, because if our heads drop, we could get absolutely battered. And we don't want to get absolutely battered because then that'll have ramifications for league form and take us out of this lovely run of form that we've been in when we've got our weakest squad we've had over the course of the season because we've lost another key player. Borges now in behind, forces the save out of Turner, and we've got a corner here, and there's always a chance from a corner. Harwood Bellis in particular is very good from these corners. So if Doyle can find him, the corner comes in looking for Harwood Bellis, who can't quite get a proper connection on it and test the goalkeeper. But looking at the XG, it's a very even match between the two of us so far. But obviously Arsenal are going to have superior quality, superior fitness as the game goes on. And Jesus is there to make it 2-0. And I think we are in danger now of it all going really rather wrong. It's 2-0 to Arsenal. Still only 8 minutes gone in this second half. And at what point do we go into damage limitation mode? I think we probably stay as we are for another goal. And if it ends 2-0, that's fine. If it ends 2-1, that's even better. But if it starts to get to 3 and 4, we need to make sure that we shut up shop and don't get ourselves utterly humiliated, because no one wants that. Okay, probably a lot of people want that, but our punishment's been going on for a while now. Do people still want that, or are we now the plucky underdogs? When do we become the plucky underdogs? Probably when we're not 10 points clear at the top of whatever league we're in is when we become plucky underdogs. So it's going to be a little while. McAtee, lovely ball to release Borges on this left-hand side. He's actually got space to run into. If he can find the cross, Rogers is in the middle, but in fact, he's played it back to Doyle, and now Wilson-Brand. Fiorini, though, with the chop from the edge of the area, and Luis Fiorini has a goal back for us. He's scored against Arsenal. There's still 25 minutes, half an hour left in this game, and the deficit is back down to just the 1 goal again, thanks to the goal from Luis Fiorini, and it's lovely stuff from him. Look at the gap, the huge amount of space they've left him in on the edge of that area. Clearly not at all concerned about him being there, and he's punished them for it. Right, we need to make some changes. Tommy Doyle, tiring. Shea Charles can come on for him. Borges has been rubbish, so we'll bring Ben Knight on for him. We're actually going to put Rogers out onto the left. Knight has been playing up front in the absence of Delap, but we didn't want to play him today because, I mean, he's played like 4 games for us ever. We didn't want to play him against Arsenal. Have we got a fullback on the bench? See, this is the problem we keep having. Kane Taylor is a fullback, apparently. He's a left back, a central midfielder who can play left back. I think we'll bring him on just because we need to keep things fresh at fullback. We've got both of our fullbacks were on yellow cards, and that's scary when you've got a team that's got the strength in the wide areas that Arsenal have. Still 10 minutes to go, and McAtee can come off for Micah Hamilton, and then Harwood Bellis can come on for Finley Burns, and we just keep freshening things up and hoping that I mean, imagine if we could get the equaliser, get the away game at the Emirates, and get the couple of £1 million that comes with it. Every little helps. Even though we're in £1.5 billion worth of debt, and a couple of million seems like a drop in the ocean, at least, I mean, it's a drop we didn't have before. But it doesn't look like it's going to happen because we're hitting the 90th minute. Odegaard with the free kick for Arsenal. I mean, it's not in shooting range, you would think, but he's just going to dink it in here, and the attackers are going to try and get in beyond our back four. He's also really taken his time overdoing it. It is Odegaard having the shot, which, I mean, it was always too far out for the shot. We've got 4 minutes of time added on, and I suspect that's not going to be enough for us to make any further impression on the game. You know what? We didn't embarrass ourselves, and that's fine. The FA Cup run has come to an end. We didn't get a big pile of cash as part of it ending, which is a little bit of a shame. Down to minus 26 million now. And I think really the plan from here, unless something goes drastically wrong, either form or finances wise, I think from here we pretty much just go through to the end of the season. Let me know down in the comments section if you have a major objection to that, but we all know how the rest of the season is going to go, unless we get an administration and a points deduction, or form falls through the floor for some reason. We'll probably just come back for those final couple of games of the season, do a bit of a season review in tomorrow's episode. And remember, there is an episode tomorrow because we hit 5,000 likes on episode 1. Everyone's happy. If you did enjoy this one, please make sure you leave that nice big thumbs up on there for me. Subscribe to the channel for daily Football Manager videos. And thank you very much for watching.